In a rapidly evolving geopolitical landscape, the United States' relationship with both China and Russia is increasingly precarious. Recent intelligence reports have revealed that both nations are actively seeking to exploit the dissatisfaction among disenfranchised federal employees in the U.S., raising concerns over national security and the integrity of sensitive government operations. According to sources, U.S. intelligence indicates that Russia and China are attempting to recruit these disgruntled workers, likely to gain insider information and influence within American institutions. The potential for espionage and infiltration is a stark reminder of how foreign adversaries are leveraging internal discontent to further their agendas. This is not just a matter of traditional espionage, it's an attempt to undermine the very fabric of our government, a cybersecurity expert noted, emphasizing the significant risk posed by these recruitment efforts. The emergence of such tactics highlights the increasing sophistication of foreign intelligence operations and their willingness to exploit vulnerabilities within the U.S. workforce. Simultaneously, the economic tensions between the U.S. and China continue to escalate, with President Trump announcing an additional 10% tariff on Chinese imports set to take effect on March 4. This new levy follows a series of tariffs that have characterized Trump's trade policy, which he asserts is necessary to combat the flow of fentanyl and other illegal drugs from China. Drugs are still pouring into our country from Mexico and Canada at very high and unacceptable levels, Trump stated, underscoring his administration's focus on national security as intertwined with economic policy. China's response has been swift and firm, with government officials expressing strong opposition to the tariffs and vowing to take all necessary countermeasures to protect their economic interests. The Ministry of Commerce criticized the U.S. for what they perceive as a blame-shifting tactic that fails to address the underlying issues of drug trafficking. If the U.S. insists on its own way, China will take all necessary countermeasures to defend its legitimate rights and interests, a spokesperson articulated, indicating that retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods could be on the horizon. The backdrop of these developments includes a significant shift in public sentiment toward China. A recent Pew survey revealed that 81% of Americans now view China unfavorably, a stark contrast to the more favorable perceptions held a decade ago. This shift has been fueled by narratives surrounding job losses, economic competition, and security concerns, particularly regarding technology and intellectual property theft. As economic relations sour, the possibility of a trade war looms larger, with analysts warning that such escalations could adversely affect both economies. As the U.S. navigates its complex relationship with China, the prospect of redefining these ties looms large on the horizon. Experts suggest that there may still be room for negotiation and compromise, particularly if both nations can focus on mutual economic benefits rather than allowing geopolitical tensions to dictate the discourse. The potential for a significant trade agreement could reshape the future of U.S.-China relations, balancing security concerns with economic interdependence. Looking ahead, the interplay between domestic discontent, foreign recruitment efforts, and escalating tariffs will undoubtedly shape the landscape of international relations. As the U.S. grapples with these challenges, the need for robust cybersecurity measures and strategic diplomatic engagement will be paramount. The coming months will be critical in determining whether the U.S. can effectively counter foreign influence while navigating the complexities of its economic partnerships. In a dramatic escalation of tensions between the United States and China, President Donald Trump has announced a significant increase in tariffs on Chinese imports, igniting fears of a trade war that could reshape the global economic landscape. The move, which adds an additional 10% tariff on top of an existing 10% charge already in place, is seen by analysts as the opening salvo in a potential conflict that could be one of the most consequential trade wars in a century. The announcement came as Trump claimed that his administration had successfully imposed tariffs totaling $600 billion on China, stating no other president has ever done so. However, the reality of these tariffs is complex, with impacts reaching far beyond Chinese enterprises to affect American businesses and consumers alike. Economists predict that the combined effect of the new tariff wave could shave as much as 0.8 percentage points off China's GDP in 2025 while squeezing the profit margins of Chinese exporters attempting to compete in the U.S. market. Former U.S. trade negotiator Stephen Olson commented on the situation, stating, "Barring a last-minute reversal, always possible with Trump, the gloves are now off." The implications of this tariff increase may be particularly severe, as Olson noted that the initial 10% tariff was manageable, but doubling it could lead to deeper economic pain for Chinese exporters. China's response has been swift and strategic. The government has vowed to take all necessary measures to protect its economic interests, with a spokesperson from the Ministry of Commerce asserting that the country would counter with appropriate retaliatory steps. Beijing has previously filed complaints with the World Trade Organization (WTO) regarding the legality of U.S. tariffs, and it has implemented its own set of retaliatory tariffs on American goods, including energy resources and industrial products. As tensions mount, analysts are closely monitoring the potential for further escalation. Chang Shu, chief Asia economist for Bloomberg Economics, warned Trump may be pressing his luck, suggesting that China's current restraint could give way to a more aggressive retaliatory stance. This shift could exacerbate what many are already calling a damaging trade war. Despite the pressure from U.S. tariffs, China appears committed to maintaining economic stability and attracting foreign investments. Recent data indicates that foreign direct investment in China surged to 97.59 billion yuan, $13.6 billion in January, reflecting a 27.5% increase from December despite the tumultuous trade climate. This resilience is crucial as both economies navigate the repercussions of heightened tariffs and potential supply chain disruptions. In the U.S., businesses are beginning to feel the pinch of increased costs associated with imported goods. As companies in China attempt to offset the tariffs, many American consumers may face rising prices. Analysts from the Federal Reserve have noted that the current U.S. data may be undercounting the extent of imports from China, suggesting that the impact of these tariffs might be more significant than anticipated. Looking ahead, the trajectory of U.S.-China economic relations remains uncertain. While both nations have expressed interest in avoiding a complete breakdown in dialogue, actions taken in the coming weeks will be crucial. President Trump's administration has indicated willingness to extend tariffs to additional trading partners, causing concern not only in Beijing but also among U.S. allies who fear the broader implications of increased protectionism. As the situation unfolds, it is clear that the ramifications of this evolving trade war will be felt across the globe. Whether through retaliatory measures, changes in international supply chains, or shifts in foreign investment patterns, the stakes are high. The world watches closely as the decisions made by both Washington and Beijing will likely define the economic landscape for years to come. As tensions simmer in the Indo-Pacific, China is increasingly demonstrating its military capabilities, sending a clear message to regional powers that it will not wait for the United States to finalize its strategy under the Trump administration. Recent military drills conducted by the People's Liberation Army (PLA) off the coasts of Australia and Vietnam underscore China's growing assertiveness, coinciding with a period of uncertainty regarding U.S. commitment in the region. In February 2025, a series of military maneuvers, which included 3 Chinese naval ships, prominently featured a cruiser equipped with 112 missile tubes near Australian waters. This show of force was coupled with live-fire exercises in the Gulf of Tonkin shortly after Vietnam reiterated its territorial claims in the area. Daily incursions by Chinese military aircraft near Taiwan have further intensified concerns about regional stability. Experts suggest these exercises, while not extensive, signal China's intent to assert its influence and capabilities across multiple theaters. The timing, with many in the Indo-Pacific region concerned about U.S. commitments under President Trump, is just perfect, noted Nguyen Quoc Jung, a visiting fellow at the ISAS Yusof Ishak Institute. Washington's attention is divided, grappling with challenges in Ukraine, the Middle East, and domestic budget constraints that threaten military funding. The lack of a coherent U.S. strategy in the Indo-Pacific leaves Asian governments who have historically leaned on American support to counterbalance China in a precarious position. Dan Blumenthal, a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, emphasizes that China's military displays are not simply theatrics, they are backed by an increasing capacity to escalate tensions and disputes. The ambiguity surrounding U.S. intentions, whether to confront or cooperate with China, has left allies like Vietnam and Australia seeking to navigate a complex landscape. While Vietnam has attempted to establish a balanced relationship with both superpowers, recent Chinese military actions have prompted a more pronounced alignment with the U.S. Australia's reaction to the presence of Chinese warships in the Tasman Sea, particularly during a visit by U.S. military commanders, reflects a similar unease. New Zealand's defense minister described the drills as the most significant from China, yet highlighting regional concerns about the implications of Chinese assertiveness. The Philippines under President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has also felt the pressure of Chinese expansionism, particularly in the South China Sea. Marcos initially sought a neutral stance but has increasingly leaned toward the U.S. in response to aggressive Chinese maritime actions. Notably, a recent incident saw a Chinese helicopter fly dangerously close to a Philippine patrol plane, prompting condemnation from the U.S. State Department. Marcos's administration has shifted its foreign policy, moving away from the previous administration's pro-China stance. The Philippines' withdrawal from China's Belt and Road Initiative and enhanced military cooperation with the U.S. are indicative of Manila's pivot. The Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement (EDCA) has expanded U.S. military access in the Philippines with joint exercises aimed at improving interoperability and demonstrating a united front against Chinese provocations. Despite these military collaborations, economic ties with China remain vital for the Philippines. China was the third largest export destination for Philippine goods in 2024, highlighting the complexity of balancing security and economic interests. The ongoing territorial disputes, particularly over the Spratly Islands and Scarborough Shoal, remain a significant source of tension, with both nations engaging in maritime confrontations. As the geopolitical landscape evolves, the future of U.S.-China relations and their impact on regional stability hangs in the balance. While the Trump administration's focus on maintaining strong ties with allies such as Japan and the Philippines may offer some reassurance, the uncertainty surrounding U.S. commitments continues to leave regional players vulnerable. With China's military capabilities on the rise and the U.S. grappling with its strategic priorities, the coming years will be pivotal in determining the balance of power in the Indo-Pacific.